1956, 57, when Alf brought Ted back in, that, you know, then things might have been said, but we have no record, and none of his teammates have ever referred to it. He may well have been groomed. The person, there were 4 people convicted at the same time in 1955 in that court case. 3 of them pleaded guilty and were given conditional discharges, because that's what gay men then had to do, because otherwise it was, all the evidence was heard in open court, and that would have been a field day for the newspapers. The older man, the 30-year-old man, was jailed for a year. He was seen as the ringleader. Now, he also had, it was referred to not in open court, he'd had contacts with people under 18, you know, with kids. So I think he was jailed for a year, and it could be that Ted Phillips was groomed. It could be that Ted Phillips was in the army for a couple of years. It could be that Ted Phillips was experimenting. It could have been that Ted Phillips was drunk. It could have been that the police absolutely stitched him up, because there was a lot of stitching up of gay men in the 1950s. Dreadful, you know, setting them up. Who knows? But the fact of the matter was, Alf said, I don't care. You're a great one.
I've got a second question. About Alf. I remember when I was younger hearing stories about Alf's diction and his accent. And I seem to remember he followed on from Walter Winterbottom.
He did.
Who was a slightly different.
Winterbottom,
yeah. Who I think was a more of a.
It was the first. Walter Winterbottom.
So there's a class issue there. I wonder if you could comment on that.
1957 to 62, yeah.
So there was a kind of a changing of the guard in terms of the class structure in top British football, and how the media commented on his accent and stuff.
He got the mickey taken out of him relentlessly, and it's interesting because Alf was born into rural South Essex. I'm glad we're in Essex today, because he's an Essex lad, and he's a rural lad. He spoke with an Essex accent, a South Essex accent, that was a bit like, according to one of his early 1950s Tottenham teammates, a sort of blur, like you get from Norfolk. It was he's a country boy.
When did he learn to speak proper English then?
I think he was in the army from 1940 to 46, and it may have started then. But another hidden story that drew me to write the book is he coached the senior side of a boys' club called Eton Manor. Eton Manor was in Hackney Wick, and it was started, as you can probably guess, by Old Etonians from the name. It was an amazing boys' club that took kids between the ages of 14 and 16, gave them incredible experiences of all sports and culture and everything. And then, from 14 to 16, if you joined, you could then join the senior bit. And that was the Eton Manor, the Eton Manor. So this Eton Manor had 5 senior sides. Between 1952 and 1955, Alf coached those sides twice a week on Sundays, on Tuesdays and Thursdays evenings, and none of that is kind of in the other books. I think he probably started to change the way he spoke, especially at Eton Manor, and for the paperback will be out in a few months' time before the World Cup, and I've spoken to somebody who said that his dad worked with Alf at Eton Manor, and said he was given a bit of advice about how to speak better at Eton Manor. All the newspapers claimed he had elocution lessons. There's no evidence of that in any way. Jeff Hurst, who I spoke to on the 40 minutes for the book, said, yeah, he had elocution lessons, didn't he? I said, I don't think he did. I don't think there's any evidence that Alf had elocution lessons, but he picked it up probably at Eton Manor and in his 6 years in the army during the war. He wanted to better himself. He got a racist nickname as a kid in the late 1920s when he played for Dagenham Schoolboys. And the nickname was relating to the darker tone of his skin. And that's probably because he had gypsy
touched on in the play.
Tell the Bobby Moore story.
So 1973, they're on a team coach. Alf sacked in 1974. Bobby Moore's the captain in 1966 when we win the World Cup. He's Alf's captain all the way through. You've never mentioned that. It's a bit like Colchester beating Leeds. That very rarely does that. So, Bobby Moore has been Alf's captain for nearly for 10 years in 1973. They're on a bus in Czechoslovakia. They're going to an away fixture.
East End boy, isn't he?
He's an East End boy.
He knows the Ramsey family.
He knows the Ramsey family. He grew up 3 miles away from where Alf was born. So it's Barking in Dagenham. Bobby Moore's a Barking boy. And they're on the team bus. All the journalists, the top journalists today, are with them. So it's like this half of the bus is the players, you half are the journalists. They slowed down the coach to pass a convoy of Romany caravans of gypsies. And Bobby Moore calls out, "Hey Alf! There's all your relatives over there!" It's in front of the whole bus. Alf's been the England manager for 10 years. He's won the World Cup. And his captain is taking the mickey out of him for being a gypsy in front of all of the top players and all of the top journalists.
He wasn't happy, was he?
He was not happy. Alf went cruising with fury. And this is one of the few anecdotes that is direct evidence of he was actually racially teased. We've got a few, I mean, it's in the book. And there's another one from 1952. When he went to Tottenham, they were using his nickname. His nickname was referred to the darkest tone of his skin, which he had particularly when he was younger. And people said he looked like, middle kind of European, that he had a darker skin tone. And that was, the D word was his racist nickname that he got in the late 1920s when he was playing for Dagenham schoolboys. Oi! And it rhymes with park.
Not at all. The gay storyline is dealt very well in Ted Lasso.
Yes.
It is, yeah.
We watched it.
We were in the third series at the moment.
You watched the third series?
We are kind of the
So
moment.
you've seen the Amsterdam.
Yes,
Yeah.
we watched it last night.
Which is one of the greatest episodes
That's
of
so
any
weird.
TV series of all time.
So, yeah.
Any more questions? Oh God, I don't know. Tim, and then Holly's following up. Well, she would. Tim.
Just to grant, Ted Phillips is an Ipswich legend, and Bob reminded us he also played for Colchester.
He did.
And
Yeah.
he lived in Colchester for a long
And
time.
a great cricketer.
Great
Yes,
cricketer.
Fantastic all-round
Yeah,
sports
yeah,
person.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The only thing that stops him being a turbo legend is that he wasn't Welsh.
Well, Phillips.
Could be.
Yeah.
Question for Steve about the play. When you worked on this with Amanda,
Yep.
obviously there's some artistic license in the play. It's a great play.
Yeah.
Did you have any disputes with Amanda? Amanda, that didn't happen. You can't put that, because we've seen how passionate you are about your subject.
Yes.
And did you
yeah.
allow her? Did she ever say, "Steve, I've got to have some artistic license to make this theatrical and dramatic"?
So, very good question. I had an amazing 15 months with Amanda, and she was a tremendous professional. It was a real privilege, and she was at pains to make it as historically accurate as she could. But what you've got to accept, there aren't many great art things like movies or plays about sport, and I find this from writing my blog articles. If you're not careful, it becomes they played this game, then they played this game, then they played this game, and you've got to have jeopardy and etc. etc. And what I didn't realise, because Amanda is so professional, is that sort of halfway through, several months in, she's got the idea that you've got this wonderful Sterling wheel, but I was actually creating a problem for her because there's no jeopardy in the play.
They were invincible.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
So the Fairman characters and all that, they are based on reality, and she's been as true as we possibly can be from 100 years ago. But it was one day I was talking about their opponents, Kynox.
Yeah.
And Kynox, it was an explosives company, and out towards Canvey Island, my friend once described Canvey Island, and I do apologise to people with Canvey Island. He said, when you drive onto Canvey Island, it's like driving onto Mordor. It's sort of the factories with the flames coming out, and it's in the distance. On the, I think it's the south side of that estuary is Corryton, and that really is the middle of nowhere. And that's where they built Kynix Town, and it was literally a little mini town. They built a railway in, and I think there's any young people. I described it once to Amanda as we were having our little meeting. There's a godforsaken arsehole of nowhere, and how would you want to live there and work there? And I think a light bulb went in Amanda's head that I'm going to introduce this waif and stray who's come from Kynix Town, and that puts another angle, because she comes into the beautiful Sterling world, the Fairman world, and they're struggling with her, and that gave started to give the tension. But I had no inkling of that until sort of after the event, when I said, "Oh, you've introduced this character." I said, well, I had to, you know.
Without giving anything away, and no spoilers,
Oh, sorry.
you're going to fall in love with her. She is such a great character. They all are, but the way that she's been written to create this jeopardy, as the play goes on, the influence she has on the family is just exquisitely portrayed. And she's not here. So I can tell you that she's bloody brilliant, as they all are. We're headed towards 9, so we'll go Holly, Dawn, Sabon.
Oh, mine's only a little question. What's with the bubble hats? They all wear bubble hats.
Yes, so that's self-evident when you see the image. I mean, women wore hats back in the day, it's the second biggest question I'm asked: why do they wear hats? Well, one is why were they banned. The second one is why do they? Well, you weren't a respectable woman if you didn't go outside with a hat. And actually, in daylight now, because of my dermatologist, I go outside. I have to wear a hat, and after you get used to it. You kind of feel naked if you don't have it on. So I can imagine, you know, once you got used to wearing a hat, you wear a hat. And you've seen the state of the footballs and that. They didn't really used to head the ball too much. It wasn't that much of a problem. Interestingly, and it was only a couple of weeks ago, randomly I was just having a little fergle around on the British Newspaper Archive, and I found an article, and it's interesting because it's written by a woman journalist, quite unusual, and it kind of focused a little bit more on what they were wearing. And it actually came out, and I guessed this, but I never knew this, was they crocheted their own hats when there was an air raid and it was dark and they couldn't do anything else. And I'd never come across that before. So that, Maud Smith is quite unusual because she's wearing a white hat. It's because she's the star centre forward, she's got to stand out, and the others were wearing darker hats. But she actually crocheted herself, so on that replica there, a friend's sister who does crochet made that for me recently.
Our team wear blue, thanks to the lovely Isabel, who her team were knitting the hats.
And we thought the cat was to keep their hair.
Yes, there's a few reasons like that for, it was feminine to have longer hair. They didn't have the hair products, they didn't bathe as often, so it was kind of easy. If your hair was all mussy, you just
method
a hat, you know. Yeah. So, but all women wore hats. If you were a woman with short hair outside in daylight, there was something wrong. You know, you'd come out of prison or something. Literally, it wasn't respectable to be seen outdoors without a hat on.
Dawn?
What's the view of the current Dagenham Football Club to all of this information? Do they own it? Do they share it?
Well, interestingly, Dagenham and Redbridge play on the original Sterling pitch, and they are they're very receptive. I went to their diversity day last year, and but unfortunately I think they had a bit of structural trouble and had a really bad season. They went down, so I haven't had any connection with this season. But
well, they've got a new director who's KSI off The Voice, or Britain's Got Talent,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. I might try and reconnect them, but that is the Stirling estate. If you walk from the traffic lights at the corner down, it does say Stirling estate. So they're all modern buildings now, but the pitch, I believe, is the original pitch from the Stirling factory in the First World War.
Is that where
which is made.
the memorials, not memorial, but there's the gazebo-y type. I read something on your.
Yes,
that there?
yeah, that was
They've
there.
got, like-
Because that's where West Ham United women have as their home ground.
Yeah, okay. And they've got a special, like, it's not a gazebo at all, but you know, it's a seating area.
Something
isn't it, with
magical.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bob will have the final question unless anybody else has a burning question to ask. Okay?
Again, thank you very much, Steve. I think it was 1932, Dick ladies playing Lovell.
Lovell's in Wales. Yeah.
Floodlit.
Yes.
Did
I
they
didn't
win?
realise there was floodlit football that far back.
Oh yes.
It was floodlit.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't realise. I thought it was post-war.
So I have written an article about the world record game that my granny played in 1923 at Burnley Cricket Ground, and it was the Dick Kerr ladies versus Hayes ladies, and I have significant evidence for this, and it was the world's first football match, male or female, where you could literally read a newspaper in the centre circle. It was the article I found is so detailed you could recreate that today with the exact wattage, the exact lighting, whatever. And 7 years later, there was an equivalent male game in 1930. But I can I'll send you the link if you like for the article. But Brian Glanville, the famous football journalist, I once played against his friendly side, was still lamenting in 1955 how rubbish this country was with floodlit football.
There weren't any
where-
floodlit league games until 1956, I don't think. That was the first.
no.
So they used to, I mean, there's various instances, I think, in the 1920s and 30s of floodlit games, but they're really football as theatre. You know,
Yeah.
so you go along to see the amazing phenomenon of the pitch being lit up, as well as the football, as you know. So it's a sort of, it's not just a novelty. I mean, you know, the football's really important, but it's amazing to see that sort of level of light. It would have been quite the show.
No, but the 1923 game was, there were two games actually, but it was Burnley, it's on the edge of the moors, and it had its worst. One was I think Christmas Day, and one was New Year's Eve, and they had the worst weather. They had the snowstorm and stuff, but they were still able to play because it was dock lighting they put round, and Alfred Franklin, the Dick Kerr ladies manager, spent a fortune on it and lost a lot of money. And I think after those two games, the end of 1923, women's football became a summer game. I think something turned in his head. He went, right, no more. It's too risky playing it because of the weather. Because we need the crowds to make the money to sustain it.
Thank you very much.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Is that it? Everybody happy? Before we give rapturous applause to these two gents, just a couple of things. In addition to what's been happening tonight, we're also aiming to raise funds for #HerGame2, which the lovely Louise is an ambassador of. Now, Louise is our 2023 commentator of the World Cup in the play, and because I'm a twisted genius, we're not using archived material. Lou is our live commentator from the commentary box up there for the show, and she's doing a brilliant job. But she's going to very quickly tell you about #HerGame2.
Okay, so Headgate is a charitable organisation that was set up by female football fans who had all experienced sexism at football matches. So they started Headgate about 5 years ago, and we currently have 81 of the 92 league teams have ambassadors. I'm the Colchester United ambassador, and we basically do things like we've just last weekend had a dedicated Headgate fixture at the men's game on Saturday and at the Colchester United ladies game on the Sunday. and we're just wanting to raise awareness, and the whole ethos is that football is a game for all, so we don't want female football fans or female players to ever feel discriminated against when they go to football games. And so that's kind of their ethos, and they do an amazing job. They do first time fans initiatives as well, so if any female fans want to go to games and never have done, a lot of clubs run promotions where they give away tickets. They have a safe area of the ground that if females want to go to football matches on their own, they can do that as well. So all these different things that they do, and but it is a charitable organisation. So
yeah, and as part of my discovery about football, this is absolutely brilliant. So,
And we'll be doing a collection.
we're doing a collection. Steve and I have waived our fees from Creative Colchester this evening, and we're donating £300. So if you want to add to that and you've got any loose change, can you fold it up? Old panto gag there. But also get more information about Headgate too. Thanks. You can sit down.
Thank
And
you.
very quickly, in talking about the women's game and the men's game, we've had lots of conversations about how different the games seem to be, and alcoholism in the pressure of the limelight has affected quite a few footballers, most of them male. And our assistant director, who also plays Brian, the 1917 commentator, wait till you hear his voice, it's brilliant, Tim, works for a charity called Open Road, and he's pulled off quite a remarkable coup. So Tim, do you want to quickly come down? And what I say with this one is please take one of his flyers and go along to what he's arranged.
Thank you, Paul. Yes, Sir Bob is a patron of Open Road.
One of several.
Yeah, which is a drug and alcohol support charity based in Colchester, working throughout Essex and Kent. And we booked the Arts Centre for Friday week, Friday the 13th, and we needed someone to headline. And my wife found out that John Robbins, the famous comedian and
Taskmaster, Game of Thrones,
when I mentioned my dear friend Paul T. Davis, I've got John Robbins to come and headline at the Arts Centre. Is he the smug git that won Taskmaster? I said, yes he is, but they've sent me he's written a book called Thirst, 12 Drinks That Changed My Life. He's coming to, I'm doing a moderated Q&A interview with him at the Arts Centre Friday week, talk about the book, talk about his career in comedy. Please come along if you can. It's a remarkable book. I'm about 2/3 of the way through it. It is brutally honest about his alcoholism, but also hilariously funny. And if you know John from the Ellis and John Radio 5 live show, and Ellis is very Welsh.
I know,
Yes.
Ellis.
And it's so great. The tickets are 35 quid, but that's because he's giving the proceeds from the night to Open Road. So please, if you can afford it, come along next Friday week and come and see us at the Arts Centre.
Please take a leaflet.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Before we close, I don't think many of you are, but if you're new to Headgate, we have a terrific season coming up. Not just The Invincibles, which is the next Headgate Theatre Productions production, but the one after that in June is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which, if you know it, is about an autistic lad who sets out to solve a mystery. It's an absolutely wonderful play, just like The Invincibles. So please take a brochure. If you booked to see The Invincibles, thank you very much. Encourage everyone to come and see it. I'm not saying that as a director. As you know from tonight, it is a remarkable story. It's totally inspiring, and I warn you now, very moving as well. I think, before I close, the last rapturous applause that you must give are to Grant and Steve for a brilliant Steve won't let anybody else put his stuff away. So, in the interest of closing the building at a nice time, if you've got any final questions that you want to ask the chaps, or by Grant's book, come down now and have a couple of minutes mingle. If not, thank you so much for coming, and donate to Headgate too if you can. If you can't do it now, go online and have a look at what they do. It's wonderful.
Thanks for coming.